we're actually going to be learning how to read input from the user. So we're going to read input from the user. So for example, let me say if I wanted to get the user's first name and I want to get the user's last name. So how do I get this information from the user? So these are variables, so I'm going to put an equal sign, but now I don't know the user's name, so I can't write the name here, so I need to ask them for it. To ask the user, we're going to write the keyword input. Input is telling Python that we are expecting some information and then to store it in this variable name. So here, now this is where we display something to the user. We're going to say, what is your first name? And then I'm going to do the same thing down here for input. What is your last name? Now, I want to display the user's first and last name. So now I'm going to put print, and I'm going to say hello. I'm going to put a comma, first name, comma, quote, space, because I want there to be a space between their first and last name. I'm just going to write last name. So if I run this, it's going to pop up and it's going to say, what is my first name? I'm going to say Johnny. Johnny Smith, and it says, hello, Johnny Smith. Now you notice how there's these extra spaces. Sometimes we just have to fix up some stuff, so maybe you didn't like all of these extra spaces. So let me say Franklin, and then Jones. Franklin Jones. Hello, Franklin Jones. And that is how we read input from the user. So this is how you store strings. So let me put this as here. How to store strings from the user. Now here's how to store integers or whole numbers from the user. And then we're also going to learn how to store decimals from the user. So if I wanted to get, let's say age, if I wanted to ask the person their age, here I would say int because I'm asking for an integer. An integer is a whole number like 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 50, 100, 2000. Those are whole numbers. So I said int, parentheses, then I'm going to say input. Another set of parentheses. I'm going to say, how old are you? And then I'm going to say here, let me figure out, let's say hourly pay. I'm just curious on how much they make per hour. So to get a decimal from the user, you can write float. Float is just a decimal. So hourly pay rate. So how much do you get paid per hour? So we're still getting their first and last name. Then I'm going to print and I'm going to say, you are, comma, age, comma, quote, years old. I'm going to put another print and say, you make, comma, hourly pay per hour. So if I run this, what is my first name? I'm Franklin again. Franklin Jones. Franklin Jones is 53 years old. And hourly pay rate. Franklin Jones makes $13.43 per hour. So you can see here it says, hello Franklin Jones, you are 53 years old, you make $13.43. So I'm going to intentionally break this. So if I can put numbers in strings, that works. Totally fine. How old are you? If I put, say I'm 30.5 years old, as soon as I press enter, it tells me I am wrong because an integer cannot understand this decimal. Okay, so if I put in John Jones, and John Jones is 90 years old. Now, if I put in a number here, say John Jones makes $19 an hour, that works. And when we run it, it automatically will put a decimal in it. So a float can understand an integer, and it can also understand a decimal, but an integer can only understand integers. Now, the reason why, and I will talk about this when we get into the next video when we start dealing with math, why we don't input numbers inside of this. That will be in our next video about basic math.